There's this assumption that all personal development and growth is going to be on some level rewarded, and that's why we do it. I don't think we really talk about what it asks of us, though. And sometimes the cost feels really high.
It's hard, and maybe it's not even rewarded. So why would you potentially do it?
You have to have that moment when you go, oh, I'm the problem. Like that moment when you go, oh, wait, it's me, and I've got to do something about that. Your ego doesn't get to just keep bending the light. It doesn't get to keep pushing away the responsibility of change. That is a cost to your ego.
Hey, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joe Mark Witt.
I'm Antonia Dodge.
So, Antonia, my father taught me a lesson when I was a kid. I'm going to tell you this story. This is a very interesting lesson. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. I had found an old briefcase at the summer camp my parents ran. Maybe somebody had brought it there. I don't remember how I acquired this old briefcase. But, ENFP preferences, my little 6-year-old self has a little TE tertiary 10-year-old.
Oh, I bet that was cute.
Can you imagine me just like, I got like all my papers organized on my phone. And it's a really disgusting briefcase. Like it's all broken apart. Like it's not a really nice briefcase. I probably found it like it was on its way to the trash or something.
Yeah.
So it's like this, probably from like the 1970s, early 70s or late 60s at the time I got it, right? It's probably 10, 12, it's just beat up. Mm-hmm. The hinges are broken on the back. It's like barely hanging together, but I would just hold it together and put my folders and files in that and carry it around like a businessman around the summer camp we were at. And just, that summer I had this, and my father came to me one day. He said, Joel, it's time. I went, what do you mean it's time? He's like, it's time for the briefcase to go. I went, what? What are you talking about? He's like, look, it's beat up. I mean, I don't remember all the specifics, but basically this was the sort of the conversation. It was probably talking to a 6-year-old, but
learn to let go of things, 6-year-old. It was like, this is the beginning of a lifetime full of disappointments. And
he's like, we need to, and we had a big bonfire area at the camp and we could build fires there. And there was a fire burning that day and it was like cleanup day or something, I think. And he's like, we're going to go and we're going to get your stuff out of that because we're going to burn it.
Yeah, not only are we going to throw it away, but we're going to burn it in front of you.
Right. I was a 6-year-old like, what? No. I'm like, like this is upsetting to me as a 6-year-old.
Yes, of course.
Because you're going to... But it needed to be burned.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Was it filled with like
it probably had bugs in it and mites. I mean, it was like whatever, right? It was just it was a beat up little dumb thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm really distressed about this. Mm-hmm. So he takes me over and I mean, basically he throws in the fire and burns it against my like, it was like traumatizing a 6-year-old. Right, I was just really deeply like, I wanted this briefcase. It was something it took a while for him to persuade me and for, he wasn't mean like, give me that, I'm burning it and like traumatizing, but it's he talking me through it and saying, at the time, like talking to a kid, it's a Christian family. It's like, God provides, if you let go, God will provide something else. So you need to learn how to let go and let God kind of thing in a way. All right, whatever. My faith and all this. So after it burns, he takes me back over to like the cabin of the car and he pulls out another briefcase. And it's like, it's used still, but it's a lot nicer than the first one. Mm-hmm. A really nice, like used briefcase. I don't know if he bought it or he found it or someone else gave it to him, but that was his plan all along, unbeknownst to me, that he wanted me to go through the experience of giving something up before I was presented with something new. So I'm like all excited. I get this new briefcase. I put my papers in it. I don't know how long I had it. I probably had it for years. I might still have it. Who knows? Somewhere in my attic. All of my like childhood stuff. But I remember that very clearly, vividly to this moment where I didn't want to give something up. And it was shown to me that when I did, something better was given to me in its place. Now that hasn't always bared out in my life. That was a object lesson my father gave me. And it was a good, powerful lesson though, because I think it taught me that sometimes we don't have the new thing before we let go of the old thing. I think that's really the lesson I learned in that, is that sometimes we're asked to give something up without assurances of something better or new or a replacement at all. Like new would be nice, but even the same thing, even in its worst condition, isn't given to us or we don't get it. So I think that was a really important lesson for me to learn. And I think it served me a little bit in my life. Maybe sometimes it has like the counter effect because like I hold on to things too tightly sometimes. Maybe it's just my wiring and my dad knew that. He was trying to soften that a little bit. A little bit of a pack rat energy I've got. But also I think I've learned to go, okay, I have to be willing to give this up before the next thing presents itself. And I think I've lived my life a little bit like that.
Yeah, that makes me think of the phrase, you have to give up to go up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I suspect it's little extroverted feeling types, little TPs and FJs that get overly attached to their things and build relationships with them as if they're people. And so
this is pretty important to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had a relationship with it, like a personification of it.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I think for me, I would have probably been inconsolable because I would have built a relationship with the briefcase. And a new briefcase would not have been my briefcase. I would not
anthropomorphized it.
Everything. When I was a kid, I anthropomorphized everything. Everything was my friend.
That's
and
interesting.
So, yeah. So I think I would have been like, I would have been watching my friend burn.
Oh, man.
And it's like, here's a new friend, shinier. And I'd be like, I want my old friend. So, I mean, but that's not the point of what we're talking about. I'm just like realizing that I'm like, I think I would still be traumatized.
Wow.
That said, there is something to be said for the idea of needing to let go of something to make space and room for something else.
Yeah.
And I think, though, when we talked about the subject of this podcast, I recommended, and most likely due to the time period in history in which I find myself right now and some of the things that I'm personally contending with, I wanted to discuss this idea of what personal development takes from us, right? Because there's just an assumption that we make, and maybe we've even recorded podcasts on this topic before, I don't know, but I'm ready to talk about it again, I guess. But there's this assumption that all personal development and growth is going to be on some level rewarded, and that's why we do it.
Yeah.
And so there's a focus on the positives and the rewards and the things that it helps us, the solutions,
the results,
the problems it solves, etc.
Yeah.
I don't think we really talk about what it asks of us, though. And sometimes the cost feels really high. And there are time periods for me, and then I'm like, why did I even start this process?
Yeah.
Why did I get going down this road? Because it has its own gravity. It has its own momentum. And so you get far enough down the personal development road and you're like, can I even turn around and go back? Like, you can't, because you can't unsee everything you've seen. But just, and the momentum of it makes it so that the idea of just stopping at one point also doesn't feel right. So you keep going. And then you go, oh, it's going to ask even more of me. And it requires even more sacrifices.
Yeah.
And so you said, I have a perfect story for this. And I think what you're talking about in the story or the anecdote with your dad is, in order for your father to communicate to you the idea of letting something go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't your friend, like it would have been my friend. But in order to let something like a physical object go, he was trying to communicate that that there are unknown rewards on the other side.
Yes.
Right. And you didn't know that he had purchased a newer, version of this, and he wasn't going to tell you that until the lesson was complete, or that completed the lesson, until you got to the other side. And growth and development also feels that way.
Yeah.
It feels like we do all this hard work to contend with something inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't actually know what the reward is going to be on the other side.
As a side note, by the way, I just realized my father has ISFP preferences. That was a very parental use of his extroverted sensing sensation of creating an experience for me to go through to learn something. It was a very experiential parental moment.
Yeah.
So I just had that thought. That's an example of how parental extroverted sensing or sensation would show up for an ISFP, as an example of that. Anyway, back to the topic. I wanted to say that so it didn't have a little mind worm in my head.
Yeah.
When you talked about this idea of like results that people go toward, I think when we start out in growth, like we start out understanding our personality, let's just say, there's immediate rewards that come from certain growth that happens. But then it hits a point where now it's no longer just automatically rewarded. It's like there's fine tunement and extra hard effort. And it's like it shifts and morphs into something else. So in a way, we can almost see it as two different categories. I've never struggled with my weight. I've just biologically, genetically, I've been blessed with a body that has a high metabolism. But I've understood that people that have struggled with their weight, and I've talked to people who've lost a lot of weight, talk about like the first 80% or 90% of the weight that they're trying to lose in the gym or something drops like that. They get results if they put the effort in and they watch their diet, what they eat, not diet, but they watch what they eat and input. They burn more calories than they take in, and they're working in the gym. Boom. Like you can get really, not fast, but direct results if you stay with it.
Yep.
And it's like really rewarding. Yeah. But then the last like 10%,
10 or 20 pounds is so hard.
It's like you're dialing in these like really minute, fine-tuned, like just like 100 less calories today than yesterday, or 105 less. It's like, it's so, that last 10% is like really, really difficult.
Yeah. So
maybe 20%. I think
I heard a quote that said, you're 90% of the way. Oh no, you've accomplished 90%. You're halfway there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's what it feels like.
So I don't want to equate growth and with, losing weight, but it's a nice example or analogy to look at that. At some point, it hits a level where it's like the benefits aren't obvious and easy not easy, but direct anymore. It'd be like now I'm not only just lose weight, I'm going to go train for the Olympics, and that's a whole different skill set. Like you're not focusing on trying to like show outward results of your weight loss or your better body or even just feel healthy. You're like trying to like really refine something to go compete at the highest levels with other Olympians from all over the world. Yeah. So you're thinking about things completely different than. And maybe it's the same person. Maybe they started off and they got to this place. Now they want to refine the weight, and now they want to train for the Olympics. We're actually really talking about kind of three broad categories as far as I would be concerned. Yeah, the initial push. And so I define this a lot, but in case this is like a one-off for somebody and this is the only podcast they'll ever listen to, I define personal development as accelerated maturity. Yes. And I think the reason why we start on a personal development path at all is because we didn't pick up some lesson somewhere, something that the world expects us to know this and be mature in this way. Yeah. And so it's treating us as if we should, and it's setting up circumstances as if we should be able to like navigate through it well. Yeah. And we're just not, and we're not up to the task, and we never learn that lesson for whatever reason. And so the only way to meet where reality expects us to be is we have to develop, we have to grow and mature ourselves in this way as fast as humanly possible. Yeah. And you can see this, like, I mean, there are a lot of lessons to learn, and there are a lot of ways that people expect us to be an adult. Yeah. And there's no way that we're going to get all of those lessons. So you just said maturity, or what did you say? Personal development is accelerated maturity. So if you're watching and listening right now, go to the comments and tell me how you would define personal growth. Like Antonia is saying, it's escalated maturity or accelerated maturity. Yeah. Do you see it that way? How would you define personal growth for yourself? Go and leave a comment either under the channel that you're watching this video or on the Personal Hacker website underneath this podcast. Let's get a little conversation started here at the early parts of this episode. How would you define personal growth for yourself? Yeah. That's a really important, I think, self-definition. Yeah. Okay, keep going. So escalated maturity. Accelerated. Accelerated maturity. Right. Keep rocking. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to continue with my working definition, if that's okay. All right. However everybody else defines it, I'm going to keep with my definition. I agree with your definition. Because I have the microphone. I like your definition. Okay. I'm with you on it. I just wanted to find out what the other person might, how they would, if they agree, if they want to expand upon it, or if they have another definition. All right. So accelerated maturity. And as mentioned, the reason why we get into development at all, in my opinion, is because we have hit a context that requires something of us that for some reason we didn't learn that lesson. Yeah. And there's no way that we learn all the lessons. Like, as in like our past, even if our parents were amazing at, just creating this incredible nurturing experience where we got to like bump our knees and self-soothe and figure it out, but at the same time they never fed us to the wolves or made us figure out too big of a lift for us. There was like this perfect amount of independence, but at the same time nurturing, and so we got this like really gorgeous cross-section of all the right lessons. Even in a situation like that, which I don't know a single person who had that experience. Mm-hmm. Some people have it kind of close, but it's very rare. But even in a situation like that, we're not going to learn all of the lessons because our parents won't know to teach them all to us. And because there's a limitation on time and experience. So when we become an adult, there is always something that we didn't figure out that adulthood expects us to have figured out. Yeah. And personal development allows us to figure it out as quickly as possible so that we can match how the world is going to treat us, right? It's going to expect us to be here. And if we're not, it's going to be kind of punishing. So I think we start on a road of personal development in order to handle those, right? In order to handle the things that we're like, well, I got to get up to baseline as fast as possible.
But it's also gives, like the person who's losing weight very quickly at the beginning, it gives a lot of reward and sometimes fast results. And it's really easy to pick up speed and start to really enjoy the process and start to get into growth and development. And to your point, the challenge is that as we go, though, it does get more and more discrete. It gets more difficult. It gets harder to do. And there is a certain point where what it's going to ask of us is not just behavior change and not just, like getting up to baseline. If we keep doing personal development work and personal growth work, it's going to start asking us to let go of some very beloved parts of ourselves, some things that we've over-identified with that we will start to experience as ego death.
Yes. Well, I go back to the analogy of like losing weight, the things you have to give up initially. Again, I haven't had to go through this, so I'm speaking not from direct experience, which I'm a little limited on.
Feel free, I think, to speak on this topic, even though it tends to get a lot of pushback. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just like unapologetically say that I think losing weight, especially if you're at a certain percentage of fat or whatever in your body, and maybe I give myself permission to say this because I'm from a family or that the women all struggle with their weight, and I struggle with my weight, and it's a constant, like, sure. I have to keep my finger on the pulse of it. So maybe I just give myself more permission. But I absolutely believe that weight loss is a personal development project. And so I know you're careful with it, but I think it's a good analogy. So,
I just can't speak from experience. So I just want to be careful that I don't know what it's like to feel this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be hurtful and intentionally towards somebody that's really struggling with this. That's
I
all
think
I want to be
kindness.
sure. That's just my personal view.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a good analogy for what we're talking about, because how I understand it is, initially it's like giving up stuff that's you might like foods or things that behaviors or foods that you really like, but you could agree they're probably unhealthy for you. Like, eating 6 sugar donuts or something. I mean, I'm just picking something that's like a stereotype of something somebody would be like.
Usually what has to be gotten rid of is the full filling that you're seeking, right? Like there's a feeling of being really full.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of makes everything else okay. That's usually the thing you have to give up.
So a certain feeling you've connected, but also there's probably very particular things you're giving up, and you're having to change your mindset and stuff. But I think at the point where you're talking about, you dip into this like more nuance, it's like there's like deeper self-beliefs. You're giving up like really minute things like, well, this is a healthy food, but it's got too many calories or whatever. I don't know how it works because I haven't gone through it, but it's like you're having to like make hard choices about stuff that's not like totally bad for you or bad in general. But you're refining these really small nuances. And so there's maybe beloved things that you really appreciate.
Yeah.
That you can't do anymore because you have a goal you're going toward now at this point.
Well, at a certain point, you're moving from project into lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like this is not just a project of losing weight right now. This is now like kind of how I have to eat and exercise or whatever for the rest of my life.
Well, and I think personal growth comes down to this too. We have people that come into our personal life path program who are doing personal growth because they're in a transition. That's a lot of people. And they can choose to continue after the transition or not. But often once they get the results of the transition, like the new relationship, the new job, the new life path, they're off to the races. They're fine. They don't need to go hit the gym version of personal growth after that. They've got a life, and once trouble enters again, they know how to go do personal growth. They'll go back off the channel, grow around the area they need to grow around, and then get back into regular life. Like this is, I think, a lot of people's relationship, the majority of people's relationship with growing themselves, their personality and their personal life and their personhood, like their growth trajectory.
Yeah.
Some people are junkies for it.
Yeah.
Like I like to kind of grow for its own sake. And I think to your point, you're basically saying the benefits are going to stop and you're going to start basically, it's hard and maybe it's not even rewarded. So why would you potentially do it?
Yeah.
What do you have to give up?
Yeah.
And we're kind of couching it that way because it's assumed that growth is always beneficial and it's always going to bring beneficial results and all of this. But in some ways I have less friends because I can't relate to the struggles that certain people have that I don't have to struggle with anymore. But I have other struggles that I relate to that sometimes I feel lonely on.
Yep.
And it's not that these people are bad or wrong, or I can't relate to them. It's just like they're not focused on the same goals. And so they don't have the same struggles. And so we don't have that in common. And it's just, so we drift in that area. And so I'm a little more lonely in certain parts of my life than I would be if I had not gone this route. I guess I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm willing to accept that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are some areas that if you get bit by the growth and development bug, it's a little like it's hard. Yeah, it is harder and harder to find like minds. It's harder to find like minds that aren't that are the real thing too. This is also a touchy subject. This idea that people are fronting personal development and they're not like doing the real thing. But I think there's quite a bit of that happens since it's now a fad. Anytime something becomes faddish, and personal development is a fad, anytime something becomes faddish, all you have to do is you have to you don't have to have the real designer bag. You just have to have a bag that looks like the designer bag in order to look like you have the designer bag. You know what I mean? Like that it's like you front it. And so the challenge with real personal development as well, like the real thing, which is it forces you to grow up. It forces maturity. That's how you know it's the real thing, by the way, is because you are becoming a more mature person and the fruit becomes obvious. There are a couple different ways to measure this in another individual. And I like the Jungian approach on this. I like that the more you do like authentic personal development work, which I also kind of think of as whole Jungian whole self work, there are some of the markers are that individuals in this space are a lot more, they become so self-accepting that they are contagious in their self-acceptance. Like when you're around a person who's doing legitimate development work, when you get around them, you go, why am I beating myself up so much? Mm-hmm. And not because that person is indulgent in themselves, but they're just modeling what it looks like to stop beating yourself up for everything, right? They don't blame and shame themselves. They don't live on guilt. They just accept, right? Because that's the mature thing. The mature thing is to accept parts of yourself that aren't great news. And so there's like there's an ability to kind of relax around people who do the real work, or the real thing. If a person is doing a facsimile of it, it's almost the opposite experience. You almost kind of like, you feel like you're in an energy now of fronting. You feel like you have to prove something. And so the more that's one of the things that legitimate personal development work gives you. And one of the reasons why it becomes a little addictive is you get to this place where you're like accepting yourself and you don't have to live with as much inner conflict. Like the inner terrain becomes a place way more of peace. But it creates some challenges in the outer terrain. And one of those things, like you said, is it's harder to find the kind of relationships that are really nourishing for you. Like the ones that you really, are the ones that aren't just one-sided. You're not just giving, but you're also receiving. And I think another thing that ends up becoming a piece of turmoil, or can be, is there's not as much motivation or desire for external gain. And so it's hard to maintain ambition, right? Because you're kind of in a place of inner peace.
Well, they talk about that as you work on your issues. A lot of those issues were the reason you were doing things.
Right.
Like that was your motivational structure.
Right.
Like, I got dad issues, somebody might say. And it's like, to prove to their father they're good enough, they work really hard and they make all this money and it keeps them motivated and they show up for their family. And it's like, the moment they resolve the issue with their dad, it's like, well, that's the reason I was doing all this. So now I don't really care to do all this stuff.
Yes.
And that can, weirdly enough, that could be something that you give up to grow. Mm-hmm. The motivation that you've been striving with this whole time. That's a counterintuitive one that a lot of people won't talk about. Mm-hmm. But your motivations might be tied to the challenges that are inside of you or the maturity that you still have in front of you.
Yep.
I'm watching complexes that are running.
I'm catching up on a show that was on Masterpiece Theater called Poldark, which I had not seen before. It's a sort of a historical drama set in the 18th century in Cornwall, England. And there's a main character, a protagonist, and then there's this like nemesis that it gets introduced immediately and follows him all through the entire series. And the nemesis character, his enemy, is really interesting. The actor who plays him is a very good actor. He shows all the range, and it's a very it's not a two-dimensional evil character. It's like a very three-dimensional person who clearly has a bunch of issues from childhood. But the thing that becomes very clear is that the protagonist's enemy gets more and more and more prestige and more money and more success. Like he always outpaces the protagonist in terms of success. And it becomes very clear that the reason why he's doing that is to get the goat of the protagonist.
Yeah.
So in some ways, he's like obsessed with the main character. He's obsessed with him. And I think it's in part because he's using his hatred of him and his competition to motivate him.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's so common, isn't it? That we use our neurotic little like desires for approval and our, you know, our desire to get the goat of, or to like, there's so many of our motivations for ambition that are tied up in our
I'll show them
toxic interactions and dynamics with other people, to your point, you know, like I got to prove something to my dad or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you do enough personal development work, that's part of what you give up to go up. Right. But you're not necessarily going up in ambition. You're going up in inner peace, or, you know, like being rested with the self, or all of those rewards. And so you can find yourself, I mean, I feel like I put myself in a bit of a pickle. I have to be honest. We started this company a long time ago when I was still riddled with a bunch of issues, right? A lot of like trying to prove myself and trying to figure out who I am in this big bad world, and fresh out of my religion and trying to kind of understand how I have value outside of the paradigm that I had come from.
Yeah.
And so we started this company when I was hungry for that. And we're 15 years in now. And I've done a lot of growth and development. I don't have the same ambitions, but I have the same responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Well, I would say you have more responsibility now.
Well, yeah, exactly. Way more responsibility.
Not just in like logistical things to do, but you have a more of a command of material that requires you to be responsible more with it.
And
right? It's like the material itself, the
yes.
learnings themselves, we're very careful because we understand the power of them. So we feel a sense of responsibility to them as well.
Yes. And so I can't create content that's as popcorny as I used to.
That's as like accessible sometimes.
That's right.
It's not accurate for you, or it doesn't responsibly handle the material.
Yeah. But at the same time, I also know that you can't really you can't attract new people if you're just going to talk about make the assumption that they've heard the previous 100 podcasts and they're caught up with you, right? Like you kind of have to start somewhere. And so every time somebody asks me a question, I start out with the phrase, well, it depends, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, stop saying it depends. Like just give them a direct answer, even though it's not totally accurate. But yeah, there is a sense of responsibility around that. It feels a little more dharmic. But here's the deal. I think if it was just a matter of responsibility, I think personal development doesn't remove that. I think it actually amplifies it. Because you're mature, you're accelerating your maturity. And so you get to a place of maturity, and maturity understands responsibility. But I think what we're experiencing right now is that the industry is shifting and changing. And everything that everything that used to work isn't working anymore, not like it used to. But we still have the same size of sort of machine that we're running. And so the timeline of basically in order to survive, in order for a company that is digital marketing, that's live event based, that requires people to go to places, like competing with burgeoning AI, which gives you all the answers and blah, 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 blah. In order to survive this time period, we almost have to get like an entrepreneurial spirit again to go find the next vein in the mine, right? Like we have to go be miners we have to find the next vein. Like what's the next marketing strategy? What's the next way of doing it? And it requires that libido, that energy towards
striving and building and
ambition, achieving. And I am like struggling to find it again. I'm like, oh man, and it could just be age too, because like I was in my early 30s then, and I'm no longer I'm like now in my late 40s. So it's like, it's a different time period.
And the model we were given in the 20th century was you do build something and maybe you cash out like physically, like you sell it cash out, but you cash out meaning you can enjoy the benefits of the thing you built. You don't have to constantly be reinventing yourself. But the nature of the internet and the new world that we live in is everything's pretty temporal and seasonal now. Like you're not building, I read this book Built to Last a long time ago when I was a kid about great companies that were built for 100, 200, 300 years. And that's not really I don't think that's really the focus right now. I don't think we're looking at legacy that's going to last forever. I mean, even legacies that have been are being challenged and toppled left and right.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a very different epoch. It's just humans. And so in a way, you're just, the natural order of it would be, oh, I built this thing 15 years, put a lot of effort in. Now I get to kind of have a different relationship to it. But it's like, no, you get to go back to be kind of a new startup. And again, because the world is shifting and changing and constantly updating.
Yep.
And I think that's the reality we're all under.
I think so too.
No matter who you are.
Yep.
I don't think anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the New York Times isn't going, well, we built for, 150 years. Yeah. Sit back on our. No, they're struggling and hustling too, just like anybody else, because the world's shifting that much.
Oh, yeah. You can tell anybody who's in this kind of industry is just like trying to strike gold. They're trying to figure out what is like the next way that all of this works. And so it's,
well, my guiding star for us has been, let's get real human. I mean, I can't pretend that we know where the AI is going to go and where all the technical stuff's going to go. But we do know there are 8 billion people on the planet and they have real needs. They're real humans and they need real human connection and real human help from each other. And so this is very Jungian, psyche to psyche conversation in a clinical, he's an analyst, so he's actually talking to real people. And I say that's where it's at. That's where the gold is, because that's what actually helps people.
Great, as long as you can get people to want that.
So the thing we might have to give up is a good business model, right?
Right.
Like to grow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think, to want that, I agree. I think people do resonate with it, though.
They resonate, but people don't. It's like a different.
It's a season, though, too.
Yeah, and so to go back to the reason why we started talking about this is that the thing that I feel like just was sort of naturally given up was my not an ambition. Like I still am pretty ambitious. I'm dharmically ambitious, but I'm not resource ambitious, and I'm not ambitious for not like I was when I was younger. Not for resource, not for accolades, and we couldn't change our relationship to this company and like sell it or something at a certain point that would have been prime, because we are the company. Like if we were to sell Personality Hacker to somebody else, we're the center point of all of it. We're the center point of all the content and all the teaching. And so we'd be selling ourselves to somebody. And so
indentured servanthood.
Yeah, that's basically
like, here, just tell us what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so we could never quite do that. So we had to stick with it. We could never quit it. We could never sell out. I would have totally sold out, but we could never sell out. So now I find myself in a place where my next level of maturity is to reinsert ambition, not just responsibility, but hunger.
Desire, hunger, ambition,
That's
striving.
right. But it's not associated with any of the old
reasons.
Yeah, any of the old motivations that were tied to much simpler things like I'll show you, right? Or there was a time when I wanted to make as much money as my brother because I wanted to prove to my family that, just because I was the youngest in the family didn't mean that I couldn't also accomplish. But I mean, I've got that's
not your goal now.
That's not even in me anymore. I'm like, I don't even care about that. And so I'm like, okay, that one's gone. Or like, I want to leave a legacy for my children, but I mean, none of our kids are really into personality types. It's not like Piper cares. So it's like, okay, that one's gone. like all the things before that were, my ego was trying to get to the next place. I'm just like, all of those are kind of unavailable. So now I have to go to the next level. And so then my question becomes, what do I have to give up now? And I think I have to give up some peace of mind.
Ooh.
I've really gotten sort of used to this peace of mind thing.
No agitation. You can just kind of do your thing and have your wisdoms.
Yeah.
You don't, one thing I think you got used to is because of the nature of kind of how people listen to a podcast or come into content, you got used to people giving you deference for your ideas and your thoughts. That's not happening as much. Sometimes people are challenging more and you're like, wait, what? And probably for you to, it doesn't really bother me as much because it's not my channel. Like my thinking isn't my offering. Everybody's like, we know, Joel. All the comments. Yes, Joel, we know it's not your offering. Thanks for confirming it. Thank you. Thank you for the comment.
What, your thoughts and ideas and your content?
Well, my ideas, my
your
thoughts.
Ideas,
are like, we don't listen to you for your thinking, Joel. Trust us.
Oh, stop.
I'm half joking.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't bother me at all. You're more tied into your, like the currency of thought is more aware for you. And so when you take time and you put very careful thought into something and you take time to articulate it, and somebody's like, that's not how that works. And you're like, wait, you didn't even listen to or confirm that you understood what I just said. And you just dismissed it.
Yeah.
And so it's deeply, like, you're almost like I've earned this. Like it's not like I've just started talking about this in my bedroom yesterday by kicking on a camera.
Right.
I've written a book. I've consulted with experts. I've written like hundreds of articles. I've recorded over 600 podcasts. Like I've been in this for a long time. And
I've got a body of work.
Yeah. And I've been coaching and teaching and you're some, 22-year-old or even a 50-year-old. It doesn't matter your age, but you come on here having just learned about type last week and you tell me that's not how it works. It's like, okay. Yeah. Okay. And that's troubling to you. But maybe that's one of the things you have to give up is that being known as the expert, being seen as the one that's in the know. You have to go and maybe the thing that's being asked of you is to reestablish your credibility every single time. Well, it's frustrating.
I would say that I wish that was as motivating as it used to be because that would actually give me some oomph.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's motivating. I'm just saying that's what's being asked of you.
Right, exactly. Well,
it might not be motivating.
What thing is being asked of me?
To establish your credibility every time you share an idea. You can't assume credit. You can't pre-assume that your context of being a content creator, an author, a coach, a teacher,
being a podcaster used to mean something.
Like having 15 years, a decade and a half of work, a body of work. Yeah. You can't assume somebody goes, oh, really? Yeah. Okay, well then you must know.
You must know something.
I think people are deeply suspicious about like influencer types, podcasters, people that
who think they know better. Yeah.
And so I think you just have to establish that.
So if you're a person who talks into a microphone, that doesn't mean anything, right? Most people are like that. You don't know anything. In fact, and it's because it is irritating when somebody doesn't, acknowledge a body of work that spans almost 2 decades at this point and all of that stuff. Yeah. Like it is irritating that they're like, oh, I'll tell you how it works. And it's like, okay, cool. Good for you. But it's the idea of going and proving my credibility over and over or reestablishing it. That could not be more demotivating to me. Like, I don't even care about that. Well, but to your point, I might have to care about that. I might have to find care inside of me to be like, and not just like brushing people off sort of way, but kind of like okay, so how do I meet this person where they're at? Or maybe not that person, but recognize that they're representing a certain segment of people who sort of need that, that credibility to be obvious in ways other than just a body of work.
Some people have to be dumb before they can get smart. Mm-hmm. I do. Sometimes I have to have the dumb idea or say something that I just learned about last week as if I know what I'm talking about and be wrong as the first step to learning or getting to be right. So
unconscious incompetence, right? Yeah.
So I think when people come on these comments, you take it a little harder than I do. I just figure, okay, they have to be wrong before they can be right. This has to be worked out somewhere, and they just happen. This is the first step, and they just happen to be on our channel to do it, or on my field to do this, and they just need some space to do that, and it's gonna probably be fine in the next thing. So I don't. Of course, that's not my channel that I care about. So I'm sure I would have one of my own that I have to give up on my side. I think for me, a lot of self-identity has been asked to give up around how I naturally want to go through the world. It's been reflected to me, especially from people, as I'm trying to work on the next set of things. It's really extroverted feeling or harmony that I want to work on. And I think working on that requires me to not have my rights and my sense of self and my authentic self at all times. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm being inauthentic or fake, but if it's authentic for me to express this emotion right now in this context, and we're like a party and everybody's having fun and I've got this really heavy emotion to express, that's not a good context for that. I need to give that up, having the right to do that in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I sometimes feel like that's not fair for the world to ask that of me, to ask me not to be who I am at any moment and how I'm really feeling. I have to be fake and just kind of put on a smile and not talk about real issues is how I couch it to myself. But it's one of those things that I'm like, I can understand the reason why I'm asked to, like, I'm at the level now where I need to be able to do that, not always have to show up in that, no, this is just me and my authentic expression.
Yeah, well, and I've also noticed, and this is very similar to what we were just talking about with me and my introverted thinking or accuracy co-pilot, which would be in archetypes, my parental energy. There is a desire to like share information with other people. And when they don't receive it, there is a frustration about that. There's like listen, I've put a ton of thought labor into this. Like, you don't have to agree with me, but just like,
at least hear it.
Yeah, hear it out, because you might just in the process of, or how I'm thinking might give you something, even if you don't like what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. And so, there's a part of me that's kind of like, well, and then I get really shruggy. I go, all right, well, that's pearls before swine. And I just like move on. And I think I need to sit there a little bit more and sort of understand, to your point, like people need more space for thought. And the reason why I think that or brought that up is with your introverted feeling or authenticity, which is your co-pilot function and your parental archetypal energy. There's a desire to like you. There's a part of you that feels like you know best what other people should be feeling, or like you take on your other people's emotions as your responsibility.
Yeah.
And kind of have to let that go in the same way that I have to do the similar on my side, which is like I take responsibility for the thoughts a person went away with.
Yeah.
And I need to kind of back up on that one and sort of let people have their thoughts. Like you need to let them have their emotional experience. And for me, I have to attune to extroverted thinking or effectiveness, my sixth function. And for those of you, for you listening, we did a podcast on how the sixth function is a leverage point, particularly in business and developing. And so I need to be able to do that in order to gain resource, as in like to have a business. If I have an attitude about how people are receiving my content and I don't attune or attend to it, it's going to undermine my ability to gain resource and continue to do this at all. And for you, you're working on your sixth function of extroverted feeling or harmony, which is let people have a little bit more space in their emotion, like in their emotions, have them
let things sit out there more. Don't tidy them up or demand that the emotions get pinpointed in the moment, or I have to take it on for everybody.
Yes.
Because as you were talking that, I'm like, the reason I give myself permission to be my authentic self, no matter the context, even if it's not appropriate, is because of the responsibility I'm willing to take on for other people's emotions. So I say to myself, well, I'm willing to take on the responsibility for how people feel. So that means I get outsized power in a situation to just feel whatever is going on real for me. If they feel bad, well, I can be responsible to fix that for them or something. Like it's almost like, well, I'll be responsible if that's causing a problem.
Yes.
So I give myself a pass. And so I think I need to address that very clearly, that I'm conflating those two things, saying, well, I give myself permission here because I take responsibility here. I need to pull those apart and realize that's not really healthy to do that in a lot of ways, or that's not really helpful. Maybe just not health is the wrong way to say it, but helpful to a situation.
Yeah.
And again, these are things that I think the reason we're talking about this is not just to like, thank you for listening to Joel and Antonia's therapy growth session of what they're working on in their lives. It's not the point of like just hearing us talk about what our personal growth issues are. I mean, I hope it is an example for you listening, but not just to know what's going on for us. The point I think we're trying to make here is this is like that last 10% that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
This is like that last 10% of weight loss where all the big rewards have happened, all the big stuff. It's like, we're down to like these little tiny, like, okay, I've conflated the idea that I take on responsibility for other people's emotions. So I can enter a room and it's like, this isn't even a problem in my life. It's not like I do this so much that other people are reporting this to me. It's something you with discretion said that it's one of those things. If I never addressed it, it probably wouldn't mess me up too badly.
Right.
But I kind of want to address it because it's one of those really small, refined things, and it's another way to further grow.
Yeah. Not
just to understand myself. You notice that also, we're not, that less 10% is not just like, I just need to know even more the nuance of exactly how this interplays with this part of my personality. It's like, no, it's like, how do I get to the next phase of what I want as far as being a person that enters the world? What kind of skills do I have? What kind of experience am I giving to myself and other people? Yeah. And it's really, these are like fine tunements. So I hope we're giving an example to you listening or watching. And I'd love to hear you come over and make a comment to basically, is there something that's very nuanced and specific in your life that you need to grow around and mature around that wouldn't be an obvious measurement outside of yourself? Like if you never addressed it, no one would care. It wouldn't be a problem, but you want to work on it. What's something like that? If you could just make a comment below where you're watching this or listening to this on the platform you're on, or head over to personalityhacker.com and below this episode. I think that'd be also another interesting conversation to get started into this, just to see how people are showing up with what they think is the thing that's next for them. Okay. Can you remember your thought now?
Yeah. The thought was, and what is it asking you to give up?
Yeah, what's the cost?
To go back to the point of origin, that whether or not we're doing like the big, like the reason why we started out, I think, by talking about like sort of the big gains you get at the beginning, is it doesn't feel like there's a lot of cost. There's still cost.
Yeah.
To the in the beginning phases of personal growth. There's setup cost, right? You have to sort of have enough. I mean, you have to have that moment when you go, oh, I'm the problem. That's a huge sacrifice you're making.
Or I'm responsible for this.
Yeah. Well, and that's how you're the problem, is you're not taking responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm not, I was thinking it was everybody else's fault or it's everybody else's problem. But I had like that moment where you go, oh, wait, it's me and I've got to do something about that. That is a cost to your ego. Your ego doesn't get to just keep bending the light and looking at yourself in the sort of the funhouse mirrors. And, it doesn't get to keep pushing away the responsibility of change. It has to accept the full weight of it.
Yeah.
And you're giving up your self-impression. So there's already a cost at the beginning. But like I mentioned, we oftentimes doing that because we're getting punished in some way because we didn't learn a lesson we needed to learn. And so at the same time, we're also frequently making these big gains if we can get past the moment of, oh, I'm the problem, and you can start to really get into the honeymoon period of growth and development, which gives you enough of a boost to really push through that first personal development project. And some people stop there and that's fine. Or but some people get bit by a bug and they keep going. We're talking about the ones who got bit by a bug. But if it's like that first initial drive does give a lot of rewards, so you don't see all the things that are costing you until it's complete. And even then, it can be like, oh, now I can't be in certain relationships because I realize that relationship is unhealthy.
Yeah.
Or I can't be in this job anymore because I can't unsee how mind-numbing it is. Or I can't be in it's like you're usually giving things up during that time period. But the benefits are big enough that you're not counting the cost. It's not until you get to that refinement phase that you start kind of going like, is this worth it? Mm-hmm. Right? Is it worth doing all of these little, these little discrete changes? And if you're at a point where now this is a way of life, you can't not do it, but it does still have cost, right? Yeah. And it's still, especially if you have a really busy life. If your life is full and you have lots of relationships and responsibilities otherwise outside of personal development, I mean, it's hard to juggle it all, and it's hard to stick with it and stay with it. And sometimes I do think when it comes to growth and development, we do need to take seasons of rest.
Yeah.
I think we need to kind of go like, okay, I think I've been doing a lot of navel gazing, and now it's time to, get outside of myself and start, maybe working on a little ambition or working on a little whatever's going on out here, paying attention not to just me, right? Because that's also a cost too, because you're costing the people in your life by doing more inner work. Now, they get the benefit of it after you have been successful, after you've done this inner work, right? Like I said, you do enough inner work and you're now contagiously, you have a contagious central, centered nervous system, which is really nice. But at the same time, it's like a balancing act all the way through. So, not to say that you shouldn't do personal development because it costs too much and it's too expensive, but I do think it's idealistic and naive to start down this path and not think that it's all gonna be gain. Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to take into account the things that it asks of you, in order to make it successful.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll say here too, we mentioned this in the last episode. This idea of purity and how personal growth is not becoming more pure as a person. I think that's also something that drives people is like, well, you say, well, you can stop. It's like somebody might say, well, no, I need to become even more pure, more good as a person. Like, I don't think that growth is necessarily, like increased maturity isn't necessarily being a good person. Although you may make healthier choices because you're more mature.
Accelerated.
So is a kid that's like 10 years old that makes terrible choices for themselves to eat tons of sugar all day, are they a bad person because they're immature? Mm-hmm. And then they're 25 and they don't eat so much sugar for their diet. Are they a good person now because they are mature and they don't eat sugar all the time? Like that's not really how I see it. Like, it's not good to be developed in personal growth, and it's not bad to not be. But I think when you grow and you have personal growth, you have more choice to make healthy choices for yourself. So I think growth also gives us choice. So if you are focused on purity, choice can give you a direction of that, but not growth itself. Yeah. It's not a purity contest.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like that. So I just want to anchor that in.
Super important. How do I define maturity again, or personal development?
Accelerated growth.
Accelerated maturity.
Accelerated maturity.
That's right.
Accelerated maturity.
You've used every word other than accelerated, and it's kind of funny at this point.
I can't memorize definitions, I guess. at all, which is fantastic. So if you've been listening or watching, we'd love to hear what's coming up for you. How are you taking to this? Have you been on a growth journey for a while and now you're hitting that like refinement period and it's getting really tough?
Or you're at the beginning. I just want to know what people feel like they had to give up.
Yeah.
I want to know
at the beginning. Yes.
What do you think is the cost of personal growth?
What's in front of you?
Yeah.
What's in front of you to give up no matter where you are on the timeline, right? What are you going to have to sacrifice? What's the cost going to be?
Or it was already a cost.
Or it was already a cost.
Yeah, you've already counted it. Like whether or not it's the thing looking you in the face right now that you got to give up, or something you just gave up, or something you gave up a long time ago. Like,
I think that's a good one to ask. What do you give up, or what will you have to give up?
What's the cost of what has been the cost of personal development for you so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that question. So come over to personalityhacker.com directly below this episode. Leave a comment, ask a question, or share your story around this. You can also leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening to this on. If it has commenting for it, like YouTube or something else, we'd invite you to do that.
I heard Spotify has an ability to do comments under each individual podcast. They don't do reviews or ratings and reviews. Mm-hmm. They don't do reviews, but they do comments. And
that could be useful, possibly.
I haven't managed to find them yet.
Yeah. Well,
like I go into Spotify and I go into our individual podcasts and I can't find the comments.
Do you have a Spotify account? Are you logged in?
I don't.
That's probably it's probably under that.
I know, but Perplexity said it wasn't. So I don't know. I have to admit, I've done all of like 3 or 4 minutes of research on this. So it's not like I know, but it's like, but apparently that's a thing. And I need to be going and reading Spotify comments.
Apple got to me first. Like I have an iPhone, so I have Apple Music subscription. So I never signed up for Spotify. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why you would use Spotify if you already an Apple. I guess if you're an Android user, maybe. But I don't understand. Like Apple's got podcasts. It's got music. Maybe I'm just too old to understand this new hip Spotify thing. I mean, I've been on there to listen every once in a while, but I'm like, I got all the music.
Is it the new hip thing, or has it been around for like 10 or 15 years?
I don't know.
We're of an age.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I never joined it because it didn't solve a new problem that I didn't already solve. I don't know why it exists. No, somebody needs to tell me why this exists.
It created a problem because now I have to like have another app.
Yes, it did.
And maybe pay more money.
Like, we already have Apple with like a monthly subscription for the music. Like it's like $10 a month here in the US. And so I'm like, I don't know, why would I sign up for Spotify? Somebody let me know in the comments.
Yeah, tell me why.
And not in the Spotify comments because I can't log in and see them because I'm not part of Spotify. So you have to come over and do it on YouTube or our website or something.
Until I can figure out how to read those comments because Perplexity told me again. So I got to figure that out.
Yes. All right. So go do that. That's your assignment. And while you're at our website, personalityhacker.com, I recommend getting an owner's manual for your personality type. We have 16 owner's manuals, one for each type. It's rich media. There's some downloads, PDFs. There's a workbook for you to go through and journal about your experience of personality. It's tailored for you. It shows you how to set up an ergonomic life, how to get a hold of what's called personality loops or grips, these things that grip you and hijack your experience of going through life, parts of life. You're like, oh man, why did I behave that way? That's crazy. Well, this explains it and helps you overcome some of those things. But plus, it puts you on this growth track that we're talking about. Like, how do you actually grow as whatever individual personality type you are? Because everybody's going to do it a little different. I remember reading personal growth books as a kid, like a teenager, and going, this is a bestseller, but I'm just not this doesn't seem like this would work. And it wouldn't for me. It was written for a different personality type by a different personality type.
Right. And
I realized, oh wait, personal growth is customized. It's tailored to who I am and how I show up to the world. Wow. And this is what personality unlocks. You're going to grow differently than Antonia or me, even if you're the same personality type as us, by the way. But especially if you're a different type, you're going to have a different framework. You have different needs, different growth trajectories. You're in a different timeline, a different experience of life. So I think those owner's manuals are a great place to start. So go over and grab one of those while you're over there, or get one for a friend and family. Help somebody out today. And share that with them as well. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
We'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker Podcast.